Dear viewers, welcome to episode 4 of Lost Sydney. I'm your friendly host, Ben Summers of Ben's History Videos, and let's begin. Sydney used to have an extensive tram network, with a fleet of over 1,500 trams of different types. Most were used to carry passengers, but there was one which carried passengers who were definitely more interesting and colourful. Picture this. It's Sydney during the early 1940s. You're walking through Darlinghurst when you spot an electric tram approaching you. Straight away, you notice this tram is different. For starters, it's painted brown, but in an even stranger twist, the words "No Passengers" are visible in black lettering at each end of the car, right above the headlights. You've just witnessed the operation of Sydney's most distinctive tram car, but what's the story behind it? This is Long Bay Prison. Numerous offenders have been incarcerated here since the first wing of the jail opened in 1909. When the facility began operation, motor vehicles were much scarcer than now, so a question arose: how to transport inmates between the Darlinghurst police station, the Darlinghurst courthouse, and the prison. The answer would be an ingenious and inspired one. Randwick Workshops was the main workshop facility for the Sydney tramway system, boasting a strong workforce of people skilled in all the trades needed to build tramcars. Our story continues in the next chapter. In amidst their usual tasks, the workshop staff at Randwick toiled away on a most unusual tram, bearing the number 948. Meanwhile, Long Bay Prison received a dedicated siding for the transport of prisoners, who boarded from a platform inside the prison complex. The fruits of the labourers at Randwick emerged on the 25th of September 1909, entering service shortly after. Thus began the career of Sydney's solitary prison tram. Once in regular service, 948 became a frequent sight in Sydney's eastern suburbs. Its operations were restricted to servicing Darlinghurst Police Station, Darlinghurst Courthouse, and Long Bay Prison. At the station, prisoners would alight and walk through a subway which connected the police station and the courthouse. Excepting the period of heavy tram traffic which occurred at Easter in Moore Park, 948's route remained largely unaltered for much of its career. Like all vehicles, 948 needed occasional maintenance. When this need arose, it would be replaced by an O-class passenger tram, which had a centre compartment that could be closed off by the use of sliding doors. Over a long career stretching 41 years, 948 enjoyed a mostly uneventful existence, with many journeys going smoothly. There was, however, one incident which saw the tram enter the headlines for all the wrong reasons. 948 was under the command of driver Harry Perry on the 4th of March 1946. The time was 7:45 a.m. That day's load of prisoners were chatting loudly amongst themselves, though above the noise Perry heard the sound of rushing footsteps approaching his cab. It was one of the two escorting police constables, and he had an urgent message. "Hold it," he said. "I think I've lost 2 of my prisoners." Travelling at about 8 or 9 miles, 13 or 14 kilometres per hour, driver Perry hurriedly brought the tram to a halt, and sure enough, one of the cells was empty. 2 prisoners, Darcy Dugan, aged 25, and Robert Lewis, aged 18, had made a daring daylight dash for freedom. Dugan and Lewis had smuggled a serrated prison knife on board the tram. Sawing their way through the roof, which they then climbed onto near Roberts Road, Kensington, the duo made for Centennial Park. In their haste, Lewis and Dugan left behind the knife they had used in their compartment. 948 proceeded onwards to Darlinghurst Police Station, where investigators from the police inspected it. A major manhunt involving 300 officers was launched to find Dugan and Lewis, whose spell of freedom was brought to an end the next day. Following on from a lead provided by a civilian, the police headed to Gladesville, where Lewis was arrested after a scuffle which led to one officer copping a few blows. Dugan, meanwhile, continued to roam free. The police were hot on his heels, and he was apprehended in Hunters Hill after an intensive search effort. He was tired and in need of food, and his arrest was uneventful. Both men were returned to prison to serve out their sentences. Darcy Dugan died in 1991, aged 71. After this drama, 948's roof was repaired and it resumed normal service. However, a threat had emerged. Motor vehicles had come a long way since 1909 and were now viewed by many as a viable option. Adding to this, the Department of Road Transport and Tramways was informed by the New South Wales Police Department that it would no longer cover the expense of maintaining and crewing 948, choosing to purchase a specialised truck for its role. The tram's body also needed heavy maintenance. These three factors led to 948's withdrawal on the 19th of January 1950, following one last run. That year, on the 11th of December, the tram was returned to its birthplace of Randwick Workshops to await scrapping. Its future appeared bleak. Luckily, fate had different ideas. At the time, Australia's tram preservation movement was getting started, and a sympathetic Department of Road Transport and Tramways saw the value of saving this tram. On the 17th of January 1951, 948 was donated by the department to the Australian Electric Traction Association. 948 initially went into storage at Newtown Depot, joining a small but growing collection of trams selected for preservation. These trams formed the basis of the Sydney Tramway Museum's early preservation efforts. A little more than 6 years later, on the 18th of March 1957, and 948 found itself on the back of a semi-trailer truck for the move from Newtown to the Sydney Tramway Museum's old site in the Royal National Park in Loftus. It became the second tram to arrive at this location. The museum was based there until forced to move to the present site, which opened to the public in 1988. Since then, this tram, which is presently inoperative, has sat in the display hall, providing many visitors with a fascinating insight into a little-known aspect of Sydney's transport heritage. Prison trams weren't unheard of elsewhere, seeing use in places like Montreal in Canada and Berlin in Germany. These examples, however, were converted from passenger trams. 948 was built as a prison tram, and it is likely the only one in the world designed for that specific purpose. It is thus unique among the world's tramcars. I myself have enjoyed plenty of visits to the Sydney Tramway Museum, and so I have included a link to their website underneath this video. As this is a voluntary promotion, I received no money in exchange. Thanks for watching this video, which I hope you found interesting and enjoyable. Thank you also for spending time learning about the history of this very special tramcar. Episode 6 will be uploaded on the last Sunday in May, so please watch this space. Dear viewers, welcome to episode 5 of Lost Sydney. I'm your friendly host, Ben Summers from Ben's History Videos, and let's begin. Today we'll be looking at a small part of Sydney's transport heritage that's largely unknown to many people. Our subject is one of the tramway remnants in Manly. Are you curious about which one? All will be revealed shortly, so get your fares ready for our journey. Within the Greater Sydney Tramway network were a number of lines with no physical connection to the main system. This group of disconnected lines included two main lines in Manly. These lines radiated out from Manly Ferry Wharf to Narrabeen and the Spit. There was also a branch line to Freshwater/Harbord, which separated from the Narrabeen line at the intersection of Pittwater Road and Oliver Street. The trams were housed inside Manly Depot, and it's this building that's the subject of our video. Trams operated in Manly from 1903 to 1939. Three types of traction were used. These were, in a rather unusual chronological order, steam, which operated initial services until poor passenger numbers led the government to replace them with horse-drawn trams as an economy measure from the 20th of July 1903 to the end of April 1908. By 1908, patronage had improved to the point where the steam trams were permanently reintroduced. These eventually were replaced by electric trams from 1911 of the toast rack design that Sydney became famous for over the years. Located on the corner of Belgrave Street and Pittwater Road was the depot. It incorporated 5 tracks, or roads to use the correct term, a south-facing roof orientation, a traffic office building at the eastern end, 5 turrets, and a parapet. This black and white photo shows the depot during its conversion from trams to buses. Pictured beside the red and cream Leyland TD4 or TD5 bus are some of the depot's allocation of O-Class trams. The trams are wearing the green and cream colours applied to all government buses and electric trams, beginning with the tram fleet in 1933. Work to repaint the bus fleet commenced in 1946. The depot opened as a steam tram depot in 1903 but was rebuilt in 1911 to accommodate electric trams. Most of the electric trams allocated here were of the O-Class, together with a few J-Class housed here during the early years of electric operation. The J-Class cars later returned to the main system, leaving the O-Class as the mainstay of services around the area right until the end. The depot closed on September the 30th, 1939, 2 days before operations ceased. The trams which remained at the depot returned to the main system for further service. The final service was a special run organised by the Manly Historical Society. The Society wished to record the last tram in Manly, and on October the 20th, 1939, O-Car 1331, with Sub-Inspector Goodwin and Conductor Mackenzie in charge, set out along the line to the Spit with members of the Society on board. Later that morning, this tram left Manly at 11:10 a.m. after completing the Society's special trip. Thus, Car 1331 became the final tram to leave Manly, earning its place in the history books. This photo shows that last run. It seems consideration was given to returning trams to Manly as a result of fuel rationing affecting vehicle usage during the Second World War. Nothing came of this, and most of the infrastructure was removed during the war as well as in the years after. The last section of track wasn't removed until 1981, 42 years after these isolated lines had closed. After tram services on the Manly route ceased on the 1st of October 1939, the tram depot became a bus depot. This required modifying the depot's interior to carry out repairs like removing and stripping engines and gearboxes, as well as changing oil. It later housed a fleet of pre-war Albion CX-19 double-decker buses, ordered solely to replace tram services in Manly. Pre-war Leyland TD4, TD5 and AEC Region 3 double-deckers were also used during this early period of bus operation. It remained as a bus depot until closure and replacement by the larger Brookvale depot on Pittwater Road during 1952. In 1959, the depot was temporarily used to store trolley buses withdrawn from the Kogarah to Sans Souci route, which had closed that year as part of the tramway replacement program. Trolley buses are considered trams as they are electric. During the tram era, the depot boasted a large tower at the Pittwater Road end. This tower, which overlooked the Belgrave Street intersection, housed a water tank which stored water for use by sprinkler trams. Sprinkler trams were a type of works tram specifically designed to spray water around the tracks following maintenance. This tower was demolished many years ago, though I don't know exactly when. Following a period as a car dealership under Kinsella Motors, the depot has become the local Harris Farm Markets. This photo shows the depot's interior during one of my visits. Have you ever been inside this historic building? Do you have any memories of the tram operations in Manly or the use of the green and cream double and single decker buses? Please let me know in the comments underneath. Thanks for watching this video, which I hope you found interesting and enjoyable. Please don't forget to press the like button, comment and subscribe to the channel. It really helps the channel and is greatly appreciated.